This is Amy Poehler. My new movie, Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2, is coming to theaters June 14th, and it's making me feel joy and sadness and anger, definitely some disgust, and I think a little fear. But I'm also feeling these new emotions like anxiety, embarrassment, envy, and ennui.
It's what you call the boredom.
Okay, that one was weird. It's going to be the feel everything movie of the summer. Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Only in theaters June 14th. Get tickets now.
Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race Recap Show for Season 4, Episode 10, it's Episode 11, titled The Bitch Ball. My name's Joe Betance, and I am joined, as always, by one stupid bitch. From the podcast pod is my co-pilot. Please say...
Oh, she's brought her own pooper scooper.
To Taylor the Latte Boy. Hello, Taylor the Latte Boy. How are you?
I am a wonderful guest wherever I go, and I am always sure to bring my own pooper scooper. I am fine, Joe. How are you doing tonight?
It has been a week, girl. It has been a week.
It's Monday.
I'm counting the past 7 days. And, You know, it's one thing I want to talk to you about. I'm going to fade out here. And I'm being serious here, and I know you're going to do that thing. It's a visual thing. And then you go, this is my prediction, okay? And you're going to go, yep, after every sentence that I say. But I really don't know how you do your job. I really don't. Like, I just have like 3 people in my life, 3 or 4, who just need my constant attention. And it's like this morning, actually... Yesterday, I went to go see, John Paul and I went to that theater we like, Alamo Drafthouse, and they were showing Spirited Away, okay? Which I had never seen in a movie theater. And it is, if you have a chance to go see a movie theater, it is so fucking gorgeous in a movie theater. It is gorgeous, right? And
I've never seen any of those movies, but okay.
Oh, you've never seen Spirited Away? I would start.
I have one in the other room that loves all of those movies, and he talks about My Neighbor Tora Tonto.
Oh, My Neighbor Totoro.
He says you would have, that he was like, you would need to watch that. He goes, I cry at the end of it every single time, but blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, I'll get around to it one day.
Well, Spirited Away, we're getting close to the end of the movie, and I started sobbing, and it's not even anything particularly emotional. I just started sobbing and sobbing and sobbing, and I was realizing, I think I'm crying just because I have had such a fucking week. And it's been just trying to hold everybody else together. It's just sort of like, I don't know how I was actually thinking, I don't know how Taylor or any of these mental health professionals really do it. I know you were going through I know you were going through it during in the thick of the pandemic, but like,
oh girl, she's still going through it. She's just really better at hiding it.
Yeah. Yeah, because as we know, somebody very close to me is still going through it, but he's actually an easy one because he doesn't come to me, right? I mean, we talk, and then when he's feeling low, he kind of goes away. But, Jonathan's back in my life, and he Oh, you didn't know this?
Oh, no.
I
kind of knew that you reached out, and then he bought a ticket to the Crazy Train again, so you were sort of like, okay.
Okay, so here's what it is. It really is, and I actually had to talk with him about this. What's so funny was I had this honest talk with him about it last week, about being normal then crazy. And he talked about it because he was in a state of normal, and then he stopped calling me, which I was like, oh, I like this, right?
Yeah.
But it's definitely very Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. It's really, really weird. It's like Dr. Jekyll. Everyone should remember Dr. Jekyll's the normal one, okay? Because you think Dr. Jekyll be the evil one, but he's not. Dr. Jekyll's the normal one, and he's like totally normal. And then it happens to be around the weekends, I think, right?
Oh, gee. Well, what do people do on the weekends?
No, I don't think it's drugs. I think it's because he doesn't act crazy in a drug way. He's just really, really depressed. So he doesn't say anything cuckoo.
Does he have a job?
Yes.
Is his job 9 to 5? Okay. That is why. Because the job keeps him busy and it keeps him distracted. And when he is not working, he has time to focus on the stuff in his life that he's not happy about.
Yeah. So when he so now the cuckoo now isn't cuckoo, I think. the government sending lasers to me. No, that's gone. It's just deep, deep depression. Right. And then I'll say like constantly like, I really think you really need to talk to a professional about this. And I set a boundary, and then he'll just go like, well, yeah, you're right. And then keep going. And I'm like, at what point do I just go like, okay, I gotta go, which I have. So I actually talked to him about the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde part. But I mean, even when he does it, I do give him like 10, 15 minutes, of just like, just notice who my friends really are, and no one wants to talk to me anymore. And I was just
okay.
And I'm just like, okay. And then I have the other one. Then I don't know if you know this either, that Betty went to the hospital.
No.
Yes, she just got back today. She went last Wednesday, and she had an acute, and she still has it, I guess, an acute pancreatitis.
Oh,
so,
that's
yeah. So she's dealing with that, but then my parents are codependent. So then my dad's been a mess, and I'm just trying to keep them together. It's just like, I'm just like, ugh. And then also, if people aren't depressed, a lot of people in my life are in a state of limbo. Myself, John Paul, Richard, all these people are like, they're like waiting. Armando, a lot of people I know are just waiting for something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where I'm waiting for Spotify.
No,
John Paul's waiting to hear when he can leave his job. Richard's waiting to learn that Richard's never going to hear this, but I just feel, what do you think my responsibility is here? Because Richard's having trouble finding a job in the show business,
Mm-hmm.
And I know why he's not finding a job in show business. But he doesn't know, and he will complain to me and pour his heart out to me. It's a combination with him that he's another one too, and just pours his heart out to me about how depressed he is because he can't get a job in show business. I'm like, it's weird. I don't know what to do because I know that I don't know what he can do. Like you fucked up.
Okay, so I'm going to say to you,
yeah.
I'm going to say this to you in a way that I want you to be able to use in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you want, how do I want to ask this question? So do you want Taylor, the podcasting host's opinion, or do you want Taylor, the therapist's opinion?
Well, I want Taylor, the podcast host's opinion, because, I'm not doing this so that you give me therapy advice.
No, you're missing the point.
Oh, okay.
What I'm saying is this may be, particularly with Jonathan and with your cousin, is that may be where you listen to them for a while and then say, look, do you want me to just be somebody that you complain to about this, or that you just vent to? Because that's fine. If you want my honest opinion, I'll be happy to give it to you. But just remember, you agreed to take my honest opinion.
Mm.
And then that is where you say whatever it is that you need to say. That's particularly with Richard. With Jonathan, I agree, just from the stories you've told me, he needs to be speaking to somebody pretty individually, pretty regularly. And I think that may be where you set a boundary where you said you let him go for 10 to 15 minutes. I wouldn't let him go longer than 5.
Yeah. Well,
that's where I was after 5 minutes. Jonathan, I do love you. I am your friend. This is beyond what I am able to help you with. I can't support you the way that I feel like you need to be supported in this way. I am strongly encouraging you to talk to a professional about this, because I don't know what to do. And it's doing is it's frustrating me, and it is preventing us from communicating in a way that is effective for both of us.
So with Richard, yes, I need to have that conversation, right? With Jonathan, I already made that decision for myself, and I'm brutally honest with him. So he'll be like, I don't know why these people don't talk to me anymore, Mo. Because you're a drug addict, and they're sick of you. Like...
And this is your friend, but also, Taylor, the therapist. Yeah. How does that make you feel to be able to actually say that out loud?
Oh, I love it. And then, but then he has, his crazy responses, because then, they always have a response. And his response is like, well, everybody has an addiction. I'm like, well, that's the reason they don't talk to you. Yeah, with Jonathan, I'm brutally honest. Richard is you have to be a little bit more sensitive. Like, I did have to set a boundary with him the other day because, like, he got really mad. I think he's loving Florida, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah, he's posting pictures and...
Is he still in Brandon?
He's still in Brandon. He's in Brandon for the time being.
Well, I mean, maybe for the time... I thought he was only here for a couple weeks.
I think he has to come...
Is he making a move?
No, he has to come back here in mid-September because he has, like, appointments he has to go to. But but the boyfriend is there through the end of September. It's the classic, like, parents are dying, family doesn't know what to do situations, you know. So
they brought Richard in for advice.
Well, Richard wisely stays out of it, but yeah,
smart man.
All right, this week the Queens put on a pup. How are you, by the way? Oh yeah, wait, we're gonna talk about your Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes, after all of these horrible things that you and your family and your loved ones are going through, I had a horrible morning this morning with Dunkin' Donuts.
What happened?
And I was telling the chat room, the Discord chat room, about it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so it got to the point where when I went into the office, the first thing that I did is I went on my Dunkin' Donuts app and I went and I wrote an email, a tersely written email to corporate.
No, to the president?
Not to the president.
Oh, you gotta do it to the president. Don't you remember maybe story?
Yes, but I have a sort of a resolution to it already.
Right.
There's already been progress.
Okay.
So I said to them, I went to because they closed I have one that's very close to my house and one that's about 15 blocks away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But it's the opposite direction of my office.
Mm-hmm.
But they closed this one for renovations about a month ago.
Yeah.
So because I am an addict like Jonathan, I would go the extra 10 minutes that it would take to go to the other store and then, inevitably be the stereotypical gay that would come in 10 minutes late holding an iced coffee in his hand. But whatever. And that store was amazing, but I had been waiting for this store right by me to open because it is so close. It is literally on the way to my house, to my office. And even though we both are not necessarily happy with the service we get there, it's very, we don't give a shit kind of thing. But okay. So that is all of the...
Do they know you? Even though they're horrible, do they know you?
There were ones in the past that knew me. The one at the 1 10 minutes away, I knew it was bad when I went through last week, and as she was handing me my donuts and my coffee, she went, "Okay, see you tomorrow."
Yeah,
I was just like, "Oh, that one hurt." So
when I go to McDonald's, I don't go anymore. There used to be this old lady. She's gone too, Angela, this old lady that worked there. And she would always call me by my name on my credit card. She'd be like, Joseph. She goes, "Oh, good morning, Joseph." And then one time I went through and I went, she came, she said, "Welcome to McDonald's, blah, 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 blah." She goes, "Are you using the mobile app?" And I was like, "No, yes or no." And she goes, "Okay, Joseph, come on through." And she had my order already up. Like, I didn't even order. And I was like, "Oh, that's really bad." That used to be with she was a manager or a shift leader or something, where because they have a little camera right there by the drive-thru, and she would come through and go, "Small iced coffee and a jelly donut waiting for you, hon. Come around the corner." I'm like, oh, like I literally hadn't even got my window all the way down, and she had said that. So okay, so this is the email that I sent this morning. All right.
Went to your newly renovated store, and then I put the store number in for the first time. Prior to the renovation, I had gone regularly for years, as it is very close to my house. When I got to the drive-thru window, the woman gave me my food and handed me a coffee that was clearly more cream than coffee. It basically looked like a cup of milk. Okay. When I started to say I ordered my iced coffee with 1 cream, I was barked at to calm down, and then asked how many sugars that I wanted in my cup before she slammed the gate and turned around and walked away from me. This is unfortunately not my first time with poor service at the store, but this was by far the most egregious. This isn't a good look for a store that has mostly 1-star reviews online and had an opportunity to start over with a new staff who may be more willing to participate in customer service training. For the last month, I have been going to the store at 3000 22nd Avenue North. That store is such a 180 from this one. Speedy and friendly service and less expensive at World as well. It is worth the drive for me, despite the closer store to me being literally a block and a half from my house, to drive to the 22nd Avenue store from now on. My receipt states my server was Khadijah, and I was check number 996 on 8/29/2022, 7:59 a.m. at store blah, 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 blah. Support code. Because I put in all sorts of information. Because if there's a chance I'm getting my money back, I want my money back.
I love black people.
So I get that was at 7:59 this morning, or that was at like 8:15. So at 2:38 this afternoon, I get, hello, Taylor. Thank you for taking the time to contact Dunkin'. We are sorry to hear that you had a bad experience at the Dunkin' restaurant in St. Petersburg, Florida. We will alert the franchisee and or field operations team immediately to let them know what happened, and we have requested that they follow up with you directly regarding this issue. Please allow 2 business days for the franchisee or store representative to reach out and address the situation. If you do not receive a follow-up after 2 business days, please reply to this email to let us know. We have very high standards for guest satisfaction, and we are sorry that the restaurant let you down. We hope that you'll give Dunkin' another chance and come back again soon. Thanks again for taking the time out of your day to let us know. Jose Miguel, Support Center Coordinator. Okay, so at this point, as far as I'm concerned, 2:38 p.m., the clock has now started for the 48 hours. And if I don't hear anything, I will set an alarm on my phone to have at 2:39 on Wednesday, mid-session. I don't care if a client's in the middle of doing trauma work. I will say, will you excuse me for just a second? I have to send a nasty email to the fine folks at Dunkin' Donuts. However, tonight at 8:07, I received another email that says, Dear Taylor the Latte Boy, wow. I am deeply sorry for your recent experience at our store located at blah, 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 blah. I understand you had an issue. I have addressed this with the manager and staff to ensure greater efficiency, accuracy, and service in the future. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. Can you please describe the woman that did this to you in the window? Please feel free to reach out to me at any time. Stephanie Perez, area manager. And then I guess it says what the franchisee thing is.
I love black people.
Now, I am somebody who I take pride in treating fast food employees respectfully and politely and compassionately, because I know what it's like to work in retail. I know that people treat you shitty. And I wasn't even like mad. I just said, that doesn't look like one creep, to which I get barked at. Calm down. Like that. Fuck you. I did nothing to deserve that. And as far as I'm concerned, I will have your job by the end of the day. That is not okay to me. That is what is wrong with this country, is we can't be respectful to one another. And I am tired of it, and I will not be treated this way. I'm a good person, and I do love black people, and I have no problem with taking people to task for treating me disrespectfully.
That's all the Dunkin'. So are you afraid to go back to that Dunkin' again? You know that.
No.
Oh, really?
I did. So I was not even out of the parking lot, to which I called Babalu on the phone. Mm-hmm. And like, I had just left him like 3 minutes before, and he says, hello, to which I'm like, we are never going back to that Dunkin' Donuts again. And let me tell you why. And I proceeded to rant and rave the whole like 5-minute drive to work about this, which he hates going to that store anyway. He just always goes to the other one, because even though the line is always wrapped around the building, it is like super, super fast. And they are very, honey, baby, sweetie, what can I do for you? All this kind of stuff. And thank you so much. And I'll see you again tomorrow. And it is just a completely different experience. But I thought, okay, they have renovated. They have made the outside of the store absolutely beautiful. I am assuming that they hired new staff members that can help out and be polite. And I got Khadijah barking, calm down at me. I can't imagine why. I'm super chill right now. I'm so mad about this.
This week, the queens put on a puppet show before walking the runway in 3 looks for the Bitch Ball. After all is said and done, Sharon Needles is named the winner of the challenge, while Chad Michaels and Latrice Royale were placed in the bottom 2. After lip sync battle for their lives, Latrice Royale was asked to sashay away. Taylor the Latte Boy, go ahead and name 2 things nice about the episode and 1 thing you did not.
That's going to be tough. Because there wasn't anything that I didn't like about the episode, but there wasn't anything that I necessarily liked about the episode. It was very, I feel like this was, I know that they had done balls previous to this one, and I liked the concept of it, but there was something about this that felt very, very middle of the road. And there was nobody that really stood out as doing amazing in this. And even like Chad and Latrice, like, were just sort of okay. But I think that that's a common theme for this episode is it's a very middle of the road episode, or even low energy episode in many ways. The thing that I did not like, and looking at this with eyes who have now gone through 14 seasons of this, is it is clear, it is really clear how much the producers wanted the world to hate Fifi O'Hara, where there was just no chance of her getting any sort of hero edit, redeeming edit, anything like that. Not only with this, but also with All Stars 2. Like, you really, even though I know all of the stuff that went on afterwards, and that, you know, just everything that happened, and what a great queen she apparently is or was. Now I know that she's Jeremy now, as far as like doing fundraising for Puerto Rico and all of that sort of stuff. You can't help but hate her by the end of the episode, where it's just like, you really just kind of don't like her. So that would be it. What about you?
I'd like that there were real dogs. I like.
Oh, that is something that was, okay. Can I add that to mine? Can I say that there were real dogs? Okay.
I couldn't think of anything else. I guess the lip sync was like, it was a fine lip sync. It was fine.
Yeah. It was fine.
The thing oh wait, no, that's something I did like. Wait, no, I wrote something. Okay. I made a mistake. When I was filling it out, I did have another thing that I liked besides the real dogs. But I put it by accident in the thing I didn't like, and then when I went back, I'm like, oh, I gotta put another thing I didn't like. So I never thought of what I didn't like. Okay. So real dogs.
Okay.
I love Latrice's exit. I think that's what made her iconic, because I think her performance is kind of mediocre, but she had such a great exit.
Okay. You know what? I am stealing both of those for 2 things that I like. Yes. That is. Yes. I would agree with that.
Yeah. The thing I didn't like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I mean with this episode. It's just kind of like...
And by the way, this is not the fault of the show. I think this is a really tough thing to pull off in reality shows, when you get down to this few people and they don't know what to do anymore with them, and they're exhausted, the show's exhausted, everyone's exhausted, and it just comes off. And I think in this one, you can just feel the exhaustion. I think you can feel everyone's just really just fucking tired of this.
I think that that's part of it. And I also think that part of this is that we have seen, okay, so when you compare, let's look at All Star. No, that's not a good one. I'm trying to think of something that would be good. When you compare, like, the first, you like to use Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, right?
Sure.
As your as a example that you use for things, of where they kind of overdid it, but then they made it of where they had to make it more and more exciting as they did more and more episodes all the time. So when you go back and look at the first couple of seasons of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, they almost seem quaint.
Yeah.
A lot of this seemed, I think, because we are looking at it with eyes who have seen 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and like where things have just gotten bigger and bigger, that seeing something like this, like a ball with only 12 looks compared to where we're used to seeing 36, and puppet shows where the girls go out for blood, and this one seemed just like we're just going to be nice to each other, but we're just going to be kind of like a little silly to one another. I think that we are looking at this with eyes that are much more used to the big spectacle, whereas had we actually done this podcast back in 2000, whenever this aired, that it would be, we would have probably talked more about how great we thought this episode was.
Yes, I agree. I completely 100% agree. I mean, I think what you've just said right now applies to the entirety of season 3. I think season 3 is an overrated season. But that said, the Untucked for season 3 is an underrated Untucked. In my humble opinion, it is.
I'm going to have to go back and watch those.
Yeah, it is the greatest season of Untucked that's ever been.
Really?
Untucked in season 3 is incredible. Season 6 is pretty good, but it has its high and low points. Untucked season 3 is a whole different show.
We've talked about that they're just vicious.
Yeah, they're horrible and mean to each other, awful. But in the show, when you just watching the show, they're just you don't see that. It doesn't really come across as much on the show. It was 2 different teams of editors, clearly. So I don't know. All right. After Kenya Michaels' elimination, Fifi O'Hara does an impression of her while reading her mirror message. Sharon wants to win a trip, and Chad points out that she's the only girl who has not lip-synced. Next, RuPaul entered the workroom the next day. RuPaul entered the workroom to announce this week's mini-challenge, the original puppet show. Each queen will drag up a puppet to resemble a fellow queen and put on a puppet show portraying a private key. Chad shines as Fifi O'Hara and wins this week's mini challenge. After the mini challenge, RuPaul announced this week's maxi challenge. Each queen will walk 3 categories at the bitch ball. Categories are daytime dog park realness, pooch in a purse party girl realness, and canine couture, a high fashion look inspired by a real life dog. As the winner of the mini challenge, Chad got to assign the dogs to the queens. I'm not going to go through the list of that. Any big thoughts on everything that happened from after the elimination to the announcement of the Maxi Challenge, Taylor the Latte Boy?
Well, the first comment that I wrote down was even before the show started when they said, and this week's guest judges are Rose McGowan and Winona Judd. And Winona Judd came out in basically an entire cow of leather. Where she came, it was just like where I just went, oh, like I was not expecting that, because she is a sturdy gal, that Winona Judd, and all of that leather just did not do anything to compliment her in any way, shape, or form. Well, and I say that as a sturdy gal myself.
I mean, I'm not being funny right now. Is Winona Judd a lesbian?
The rumor has always been that she is, but that she does not. I mean, that she is kind of.
Is she married?
Sort of thing. She is married, but she has also gone through a lot with like substance abuse. And I feel like there might be some, I know like her mother obviously very publicly struggled with mental health issues, but I feel like she has some too. I remember there was like a phase where Oprah decided to like take her under her wing and like did like interventions with Winona, and like for like 3 seasons, like every once in a while, it's like check in with Winona kind of thing. And for some reason I watched those and was just very, oh, you're in denial about something. Like that was kind of the thought that I got from watching that. I cannot emphatically and categorically say that she is in fact a lesbian, but I would not be surprised.
I thought she was, to me it seemed like she was open. She walked down the runway like a fucking lesbian, like just like, you know, like a football player.
I think she's just a sturdy gal. I think that's just what she is.
Any other thoughts on the after the elimination?
Was okay. I wrote down a couple of thoughts. I
think I know what you're going to say.
Time?
Oh no, I'm wrong.
You think you know what I'm going to say?
No, I was wrong. Go ahead.
Okay. Is this the first time that we heard everybody loves puppets?
Yeah, I didn't realize Sharon coined it.
Yeah, and that it wasn't like where she did it big. I mean, I know that every year they do it where everybody loves puppets, but she just sort of looked confused as to what to say. So she said that, and then that's what took off. That's a very odd. Well,
no, she says, we're doing a puppet show. And then Sharon says, everybody loves puppets. And then Rue says, that's right. Everybody does love puppets. I'm like, oh, that's where this came from.
Oh,
interesting. Yeah, I put that in my notes. You have my one note, by the way, from this entire thing.
So, and my thought was that the puppet show was very tame compared to what we have seen in the past.
Yeah.
You know, it was definitely, I think, between Chad and Fifi for who could have won that one. But I think the snaggletooth, Chad won by a snaggletooth on that.
Do you think that they could do the snaggletooth thing now, or not that they couldn't? I don't care. I don't think the production cares. But do you think the queens would do that?
No.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree with you.
No.
Any thoughts on the Maxi Challenge? We don't get the announcement of it. The problem, guys, everyone should know this. Again, like I said, this is not the fault of season 4. This happens in season 5 and season 6 and all the other ones. Is that when you get down to this, they've already said everything they have to say to each other. And so now it's just like, we're just going through the motions.
I thought that Chad doing the idea of opposites attract made sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, if anything, I get that Fifi seemed pissed that she got the bloodhound, but I think if anything, that's almost a compliment to Fifi because Fifi is so polished and put together, and you got this bloodhound that's all droopy and stuff. I could have seen how that could have worked for her.
Yeah, but to be anti-Fifi for a second is I really didn't get a sense Chad was trying to fuck anybody over.
No, neither did I.
Yeah. B, someone had to get the bloodhound. Who was Chad supposed to give it to? C, did Fifi ever say, I want this particular dog, and Chad said no? Like, none of this ever happened.
I think that they were trying to run a storyline through, because they were talking about it last week as well, of where Chad and Fifi seem to think that they are neck and neck for the crown at this point, because where they are trying to get under each other's skin. So I think that Fifi saw that as Chad trying to get under her skin, to which I don't think that was the initial plan. However, the following of that, with the, are you mad? You seem mad. Why are you mad? I don't understand why you're mad. That's to get under Fifi's skin. Because at this point, Fifi has handed her an opportunity when she said, I knew you were going to give me this dog. Sort of thing. That now Chad has a chance to kind of push past Fifi in that regard by doing the season 9 reunion Shea Coulee. Do I sound like I'm upset? Like doing that at Fifi and just making her crazy.
Yeah, 100%. Right on the money, Taylor. You know what? Why don't we take a break right now? When we come back, we'll talk about the rest of the episode. We'll be back right after this.
This episode is supported by FX's Clipped, the scandalous story of the 2014 Clippers owner's racist remarks captured on tape and heard around the world. The series charts the tape's impact on a dysfunctional basketball organization striving to win against their reputation as the most cursed team in the league. Starring Lawrence Fishburne, Jackie Weaver, Cleopatra Coleman, and Ed O'Neill. FX's Clipped, streaming June 4th, only on Hulu.
Dear Colgate, I love that you love that I love being at home. You even let me whiten my teeth from home. Because you know how I feel about getting up from my cloud couch. The Colgate Optic White LED Kit gives professional-level results in just 10 minutes a day for 10 days when used as directed. And that's why, Colgate, I want you to meet my parents. Because ever since meeting you, I've been living life to the brightest. Colgate Optic White. Find it at all major retailers. This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Yeah! All right. In the workroom, Hunter proves problematic for Fifi. Chad repeatedly asks Fifi if she is mad at her, and Sharon strategizes her poodle-inspired look. For the table visits, RuPaul returns to the workroom for the table visits. Ru reminds Latrice she's been read for her taste levels and challenges. Ru reminds Latrice she's been read for her taste levels and challenges Chad to show more depth this week. Fifi looks to Paris for inspiration for her bloodhound look, and Sharon Needles takes 1 week off of her dark lady persona. Ooh, this is a long segment here. As the winner of the mini challenge, Chad's directed to direct an opening number and leads the rehearsal on the main stage. Fifi snaps about the time and takes over as lead choreographer. Meanwhile, Chad and Fifi squabble over the choreography. All right, Taylor the Latte Boy. both a lot to discuss and very little. We have the workroom, we have the table visits, we have the dance rehearsal. Any big thoughts here?
Well, let's talk about the walkthrough a little bit. I thought it was interesting that Ruth said to the first two people she talked to, well, some judges, I mean Santino, say this about your taste level. And some judges like Michelle say that you are just too polished for your own good. What do you say about that? I thought that was very interesting that she kind of was, I don't know if that was supposed to be sort of like a bit that she was doing or if she was like throwing the other judges under the bus versus kind of just sort of saying it out loud on her own. Like it was a very odd choice, not only for her to do that, but the editing of which to where they had the two of those right back to back to each other when they were talking to the different contestants.
Yes. I don't know if the editors are being shady. Or maybe it's RuPaul, I'll be honest with you, seems a little off in this table visit part. I even wrote down here, is she on Xanax or something? Everything was very like, oh, hi, Fifi.
I noticed that. Yes. Very, very gentle in the way that she said things.
Very gentle. By the way, some of the co-hosts here at Afterthought, Lori, were telling me that they think you're too much of a diva. What do you think about that? What do you say to that?
I don't see anything wrong with being a diva.
Okay. Just wanted you to know that. The only notes I really have on table visits, like she's on Xanax, checked off. And then she goes, all right, gather round. The special guest judges, and Chad Michaels just lost her shit about Winona Judd.
That was fake. That was 100%. No one gets that excited over Rose McGowan and Winona Judd.
But Chad Michaels is kind of basic, and I could see him definitely over Winona Judd. I think that one may have been real. Rose McGowan, I don't know. But
throwing himself on Latrice like that and everything, I thought the same thing where I was like, girl.
Yeah.
Though I will say another note I had was when Rue kind of came for Latrice and her taste level, I thought Latrice appeared very confident and very, very like poised in her answer. And I wonder if at that point that was the death knell for her because there's no trauma left. There's nothing to kind of wring out of her to make for the last couple of episodes make them interesting in the eyes of RuPaul.
Oh, she's done.
We're not going to get a cry out of you. Yeah. Whereas the other girls, like Sharon's kind of on her own weird kooky world, and you've got where Fifi and Chad are both on the verge of a mental breakdown. So she knows that she can play with the two of them, but Latrice isn't willing to necessarily play the way that she would like her to.
Yeah. And it could be a thing too where they know they're going to do All Stars the next season soon, and like, look, we're going to have her in All Stars. She's great. We love her. Well, what I was going to say is I'll be honest with you. Maybe they don't really, do they still do these surprise choreographed number things? I don't remember. I get back.
It's been a while since they've done it, but that definitely was a part of it for a long time.
Yeah. And they bug me. They're so stupid. We're like, gather around. Oh, one more thing. Boom. We're going to have you choreograph a lip sync song to this horrible song that is so fucking stupid. I fucking hate it. Yeah, I hated it. The workroom. Back in the workroom, Fifi is confident she'll beat Chad, which leads to comments about Fifi's competitiveness, we'll come back to that. Sharon changes her design and struggles with time management and sewing. Meanwhile, on the next day, it's elimination day, and the pressure is on to make the top three. Chad reminds Sharon her only seasoned... What? Chad reminds Sharon her early season psychic predictions. There's a preposition missing there.
Latrice. No, it was Sharon. You're right. It was Sharon. Chad said to Sharon,
I get that. The sentence has no preposition. The sentence says, Chad reminds Sharon her early season psychic predictions. What does that mean? And Sharon makes a final prediction of the top three that does not include herself. Your thoughts on this elimination day?
The whole idea of the hungry for the win and the conversation as to who really wants to win, that felt like a blueprint for future seasons. I almost feel like you could correlate that whole idea of needing to be polished and show everything you have and hungry for the win.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's almost like the blueprint that Jan took for her season, where this is where I'm going to be everything. I sing, I dance, I act, I'm amazing. I can do backflips and all this sort of stuff. And I want this. I'm really hungry for it. And I don't know that is necessarily something that always works out for the girls when you kind of present that as I am going to do whatever it takes, where I'm going to, you know, roll the baubles down the steps to make you fall down the steps kind of thing. That showgirls moment.
I kind of feel like they're I'm going to push back a little bit. I kind of feel like there's like a weird, what's the thing with manners called again? Not
what manners called?
Yeah, well, no, but like when you're using manners, I just lost my words here. Etiquette.
Politeness?
Thank you, humble
etiquette.
Pie. I feel there's an etiquette on the show where you can be like that, but there's a certain point where you can, and a certain point where you can't. It's like you can't be like at the beginning, but I feel when you by Final Four you can. I don't know why. When it's that close, I feel like you're allowed to do that. But think about who when you've got this season, and then you have who was the next person in the next season that was really hungry for it, that it blew up in her face was Roxy. Roxy seemed very hungry for it at the end, and then that was when the audience, like, you know, quote unquote, turned on her. Well, yeah, so you're right. But we all know that there was a weird thing with the show where you weren't allowed to really want it. Remember in season 6, Magnolia Crawford is like, I'm really just here for like the social media benefits. And they're like, oh, they're like clutching their pearls. Like, I can't believe she said that. Oh my God, can you believe that? Just get this bitch out of here. Meanwhile, I mean, that's what everybody's there for now. It's sort of what's killing the show, you know? So I think I don't know. I feel like season 7 is sort of like the fulcrum point here, where like everything pre-season 7 was like that. And then anything after season 7, everything was out the window. But no, you're right. Yeah. But then there's people like Jan who early on, you're like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. Because, you know, to be honest with you, Latrice really wanted it. Why do we forgive her? Because there was something. Latrice wanted it, but Latrice also didn't seem to have a problem being Latrice. Whereas, you know, when you've got somebody like Chad or Fifi, or, you know, using Jan as the example, they always seem to be on to where you can't get to know the real person. Whereas Latrice has no problem kind of being Latrice. Yeah. There's an authenticity thing there that you appreciate. Yes. Where Fifi seems like she's not conniving, but like that her only purpose is to gun for that prize. Yeah. No, and I would use that word conniving. I think that there is something about the way that, but I think that is also in the portrayal that we are allowed to see. That is the connivingness of it. And that is why, again, you really kind of hated Fifi by the end of this episode. Like, and at this point, I wish her nothing but the best in life. But by the end of this, you're like, God, she was a horrible person, wasn't she? No, she wasn't. There are some people who aren't horrible people, but that when they're in a competition, they're horrible. You know, they're really competitive, you know, but like in real life, they're not. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's Luke in the chat room is saying that Monet talks about this a lot, that they didn't know how to play the game, that there's strategy now. So, but there wasn't strategy then. And it was almost looked down upon to strategize. I think he's right. Yeah. All right. Well, now it's time for the looks. Taylor the Latte Boy, you are our queen of looks. Oh, Christian will appreciate that. Oh, he called me today. It's so he was talking to me today, and I gotta go. I'm cooking the meal for my show tomorrow. What show? And I go, Throwing Down. What is that? And I tell him what it is. He goes, do people listen to that? And I go, yeah, people love it. And then he goes, well, call me after. I go, no, I got to watch season 4, episode 11. Of what? Of Drag Race. He's like, why? And I go, could I do a show about it? He goes, oh, what show? I go, Drag Race Recap. He goes, I don't ever hear this. I go, yeah, it's for Patreon. And then he goes, are you going to have me on for season 3? And I went, yeah. Wait for that call.
I want you to take a big deep breath in, and I want you to hold that breath.
Yeah.
And don't let it out until I call you for season 3.
Yeah, we're not going to do season 3 without you.
Right. Okay, so the first thing that we have to talk about was the horrible opening number. Even before the looks was just so cringy.
Yeah.
And this
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I said it wrong. Forgive me.
Yeah, it's so cringe.
It's so cringe. Somebody will have to write an email to your corporate to complain about me saying it wrong. Yeah. But it was cringe. Yeah. So cringe. And this is the type of shit I hate about this show is where they put them in situations which it's almost meant to embarrass them. Yeah. Like at this point, no self-respecting drag queen, which I get that could be oxymoronic for some people, would sing a song about being a dog and lifting their leg and getting banged in a dog park and all that kind of thing.
It's so funny that you say that. Just I was at the post office today, and I was thinking about, I saw this thing on the internet about some city, they were having a drag brunch or story time, I don't know what it was, and these white guys showed up and, I don't know, guns and Antifa, I don't know what was going on, right? And I watched and the white men were mad. And I was thinking, I don't like these drag queens at the brunches either. And I don't like these drag queens I don't like them reading to kids either, And I said, but that has nothing to do with they're going to affect kids. I go, I feel this is the gutting of drag. Like, drag is supposed to be subversive and holding up society to look at itself and laugh at it. And what they're turning them into is like birthday party clowns. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that is a great view on that. I mean, I can appreciate the drag queens that do book readings and that sort of stuff, but I also think that Nina West isn't going to do a shablam in the middle of the Akron, Ohio library, whereas if you take a kid to Hamburger Mary's on a Sunday, you don't need to see. Yeah, I agree.
Well, how many kids are becoming clowns because they saw a clown?
Jimbo apparently saw a clown years ago, and that caused him to be the clown drag that he is. Okay, so my thoughts were, again, the only thought that I absolutely was like my favorite look of all of them was Sharon's poodle look. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a really great look for her. And that's honestly the only one. Chad looked like in the in the second one with the party princess, party pocket puppy princess, whatever the hell it was, looked like a character actress whose name I cannot remember. I keep wanting to say Joanna Gleason. You're right. No, you're right. You're right. I'll tell you what, you're right. Because I said, wow, that bitch looks like Joanna Gleason. Okay.
I really did. Now, granted, I'm a big faggot, and I was thinking about Joanna Gleason from Into the Woods. It's the same person, but like she was in Into the Woods. She was in the original cast of Into the Woods, the baker's wife. But yes, but she was also on the short-lived sitcom Hello Larry. But I feel she was on another sitcom too. She was, I think she was on like Mad About You at one point, and she's been on a million sitcoms and TV shows. Yes, she was definitely giving Joanna Gleason. I thought the same thing, so you're not wrong. Okay. By the way, Joanna Gleason, couple of things. The Gleason comes that she was married to the actor Paul Gleason, who was the one that played the Dickie, like assistant principal on Breakfast Club. And yeah, he's dead now. And then also the daughter of game show icon Monty Hall. Really? Yeah, go ahead. Why I have Joanna Gleason random trivia, I don't know. But I do. Because faggot. That's why. You're right. 100%. She was in The Wedding Planner. She was in Mr. Holland's Opus. Mm-hmm. I'm looking through her stuff really, really fast. Joanna Gleason. She was on The Good Wife, apparently. She was Judge Carmela Romano. Mm-hmm. And she was in Sex and the City. She was in a bunch of like stuff like you would expect. The West Wing, The Practice. She did a lot of stuff like that.
Murphy Brown.
You're just naming shows now. You're just gonna be a coach.
No, I'm not. I'm looking at.
No, I know, but it's gonna be like the coach. It's gonna be like
no. Trust me, I'm going through. I'm just trying to find stuff that would be of
so
that like mid '90s to mid aughts. Like she was a guest star on a ton of stuff.
I have no idea. I'm not looking at it right now, but she seems like someone that would have been on an episode of Benson.
Let me look. And so Benson would have been in the early 80s.
Yeah.
So let me look down and see.
She's had a lot of work done.
She has had a lot of work done. No Benson, but she was on Different Strokes.
Oh, was she?
Yes. She was on Different Strokes at least a couple of times. And she was on Bosom Buddies.
Oh, I could see that, yeah.
Yeah.
And Hello Larry.
Yeah. And Hello Larry. She was on Hello Larry as a Morgan Winslow. Mm-hmm. But she played the same wait a second. She played the same character on Different Strokes in Hello Larry? Was Hello Larry a Different Strokes spinoff?
No, but maybe they had a crossover?
Maybe, because it was a Thanksgiving episode. Oh, yeah, it was a crossover because it says the 3 episodes that she was on were Thanksgiving crossover part 1, and then she was on Different Strokes, and then Feudin' and Fussin' part 1, and then The Trip part 1.
Mm-hmm.
So there must have been Thanksgiving crossover part 2, The Trip part 2. What was the other one that I just said? Feudin' and Fussin' part 2. Yeah, so there must have been crossovers between Different Strokes and Hello Larry.
So everyone listening, I only know this as a comedy nerd. Hello Larry was a sitcom starring McLean Stevenson from MASH, right? He left MASH. He was like, I'm done. I'm too big for this show. And he goes on this horrible sitcom called Hello Larry. And at the time, networks gave you a lot of time before they canceled you. You know, now they give you a day and they cancel you. So Hello Larry actually ran for 2 seasons, but it was an iconic flop, like a huge, giant flop. And Johnny Carson...
37 episodes total.
Yeah. Johnny Carson used to make fun of it all the time, what a horrible flop it was. And McLean Stevenson played a disc jockey who has maybe he's divorced or widowed, and he moved to Seattle to take this disc jockey job or what. It's horrible. And what's weird is in season 1, you didn't really focus on the radio station. It was more about him trying to raise these 2 daughters. And then season 2, they're like, okay, this isn't working. So they switch everything. You don't really see the daughters anymore. And now it's at the radio station. And, or maybe it's reversed. Maybe it was the radio station at first and then the daughters. But the 2 seasons are very different from each other. And it had this...
the one sounds like WKRP.
Oh, shit. Oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, join now.
Yep.
Sorry, I made a mistake. I meant to. I didn't open a new tab. Here we go. But what also I love about it is that they had this theme song that because he was a disc jockey, I used to play it whenever I talked to Larry Flick, and it's an awful theme song, right? And I would sing, and he was just not amused by it at all. Right.
Well, hello, Larry. You talk to people all day for a living. But all those easy answers you are giving, are you really living your life that way? Portland is a long way from LA.
Oh, it's Portland. Sorry.
Okay. Hello, Larry.
Yeah,
2 kids to raise alone just ain't that easy. The questions they are asking aren't that breezy. The answers you are giving don't always pay, but that's the way it is with kids today.
Isn't one like theme songs used to be like take forever?
The calls are coming in, you better
oh God, it's still going. Yeah, it's not done.
Know just what they're gonna say. Hello, Larry. Hello, Larry. Hello, Larry. Hello, Larry. Hello, Larry. Wow, hello, Larry. Well,
no, I just stopped it. And Larry,
who is Larry Flick?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him forever. I think he's mad at me.
Really?
What the fuck do I care? I don't know if he's mad at me, but he's very dismissive. I've tried.
Yeah. So Chad looks.
Oh
like
yeah, the looks. Okay, sorry.
And those are the looks.
Are those really the looks?
I have nothing else to say about any of the looks. Nothing of note.
Okay, on the main stage, Ru asks the girls who should go home. Fifi and Sharon have it out right there on the main stage. Later, RuPaul names Sharon Needles the winner of the challenge and places Latrice Royale and Chad Michaels in the bottom two, forcing them to face off in a lip-sync battle for their lives. The song, No One Else on Earth by Winona Judd. In the end, Chad is told, Shantae, you stay, while Latrice Royale is asked to sashay away. Taylor the Latte Boy, any final thoughts on the episode?
One thing that I noticed was, I guess I have gotten used to the screens between the judges, because all of the judges sitting at that table, they all look like they were sitting at a banquet table, squished in like shoulder to shoulder.
Well, the table used to be much smaller, yeah. Even before the thing, yeah.
It just was very like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, Winona Judd is like taking up, like Santino is like, like someone sitting next to me in an airplane. Like he's just squeezed between RuPaul and Winona Judd.
Right. I completely forgot about that Chad had to lip sync.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that Chad went the entire season without having to lip sync.
Mm-hmm. Hello,
I also
Larry.
thought that it was. I also thought it was interesting that, when the topic came to where Sharon said Fifi's name, that Fifi kind of proved Sharon's point, but I think she also did a really good job of changing the narrative of Fifi being cutthroat to the family values comment, of where she kind of was able to kind of turn herself into the victim of, I do believe in family values. Family values are important to me. You're not going to say you're going to say it, but that's not necessarily what it was about. It was more about Sharon saying, we're a sisterhood, and Fifi is making it very hard for us to be, all of us to be sisters with her, because she is so competitive and so hungry for the crown. So for Chad to come back in and kind of reiterate what Sharon was saying, I thought was interesting. And the fact that no one said Sharon or Latrice.
I'm wondering if, because now with Latrice gone, all the black people are gone. And I'm wondering if Latrice looks really upset. And I wonder, I would love to know, and maybe they've talked about this on Race Chaser, or I don't know who's talked about this. But, oh yeah, what do they talk about on Race Chaser about this whole Sharon saying the N-word backstage? Is Alaska kind of sensitive about Sharon?
Alaska doesn't seem sensitive about Sharon when they talk about her. And I don't think that they necessarily come right out and talk about that. Just because I think that they are friends with her. Like, anytime that they have anything kind of nasty to say about a queen, it's usually Willem that says it. Alaska's never the one that says it. And Willem tends to allude to things a lot. With the exception of Mimi, I'm First. She goes after Mimi, I'm First pretty severely with a lot of stuff. But with a lot of the other stuff that the girls have gone through, she'll just kind of make comments that Alaska clearly knows what she's talking about, but she doesn't come right out and say it. And then Alaska just like nervously laughs.
Anyway, but I wonder, because we know from Dita that Sharon was constantly saying the N-word backstage, and it was a problem. So I wonder if there was almost an element where they thought, oh, well, Sharon's not going to go through, because at some point someone's going to step in and say this person who's saying the N-word can't go forward, and is just like, whoa, the bitch won and I'm gone. I wonder if I'm putting words or thoughts into Latrice, but I wonder how much of that plays into that.
I don't know.
Any other final thoughts on this episode? Taylor the Latte Boy, star of stage and screen.
No. Did you want to comment any more about Latrice's? You mentioned that just how classy it was, and
well, I remember when I first saw it, it made me really emotional. I didn't get emotional this time. This is partially because we know that Latrice comes back for All Stars 1, but she doesn't take a lot of heat because of the way the format is. But when we see her in All Stars, whatever she's in, you're like, oh, she actually really wasn't that good. She kind of ruined the sort of mystique of Latrice.
Yeah.
And
okay.
But before the mystique was ruined, I was like, oh, this bitch was robbed. She should have been in the final 3. And I felt very emotional, and I really sort of cried and I won't say cry, but I got teary eyed. I didn't get misty eyed this time. Because I do know what happens to her, and she goes on to have a very successful career and whatnot. But it is a great. Somebody here might know. This isn't the first time someone stopped at the end, though, and said something, is it?
I don't know. I think that they gave her. It felt like this felt longer than any time that they've ever given another girl that time, though. But I think that is because clearly when she left and everybody hugged her and she kind of did her, I am chunky and funky, large and in charge, and everybody, it seemed like it was a genuinely like they were like wishing her well out of the building. Yeah. That I think that the producers had to realize at this point, oh, we have a true character here. Yeah. That we want to give her final due. Yeah. Whereas I think a lot of them, they just kind of go like, okay, thanks, and they walk out.
Did you have any thoughts on the lip sync?
Chad should have won it. I mean, if between the two, I thought that Chad should have won. Latrice kind of didn't know the words every once in a while.
I mean, and they're more blatant with it here, brazen with it here. But like last week, Latrice had a song that was tailor made for her, and this week, and same thing with Dina when she got This Will Be. And I think this week they just gave Winona's there, so there's no way I can do it. But like Chad had a number that, I mean, like, it's just going to be easier to pull off as a thin white girl dancing around than as a big fat black girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though Winona's a big fat white girl.
Watching it, I kind of, because she said, country isn't necessarily, I've never lip synced to a country song before. She said that in the confessional as the song was going. And I was trying to watch the song because that is a song that is very pop country. It's not super twangy, even though Winona is kind of twangy. So I was trying to watch it from the standpoint of if, a pop singer did that song. In that regards, I feel like she hit it, but she was not necessarily believable as a country star compared to Cher, who also kind of looks like Pam Tillis singing a song like that. That you kind of got that look as well.
Did you just call Chad Michaels Cher?
Oh.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Be sure to join us next week and every week as we continue to discuss, dissect, and deconstruct each and every episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 4. So for Taylor the Latte Boy and myself,
sashay away until next week.
Thank you for listening to RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Have something to say? Email us at dragracerecap@afterthought.media. You can also leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/afterthoughtmedia. Follow us on Twitter at Drag Race Recap. For more access to LGBTQ content, support us over at Patreon at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. You can follow Taylor the Latte Boy on Twitter and Instagram at PIMCTaylor. Follow Joe Betance on Twitter and Instagram at Joe Betance. This episode was produced by Zach Birch. Drag Race Recap is an Afterthought Media podcast.